After her partner's several refusals to make love with her, a woman fulfills her needs through various men. One afternoon in a cafe, a schoolteacher, Marie, unhappily complains to her model boyfriend, Paul, about their lack of intimacy. Despite this, Paul justifies their current situation, telling her that his relationships have always been this way. He adds that once they do the act, they do it all night. However, Marie denies this and thinks he's exaggerating. She reveals that she should have cheated on him, but she couldn't since she loves him dearly. Regardless of Marie's thoughts, Paul remains unbothered. During the night, Marie approaches their bed and orders Paul to remove his shirt since she wants to feel him, but the man doesn't comply. Instead, he tells her to disrobe. Marie stalls briefly, clearly upset. She asks him why he doesn't want to be bare, especially since he knows that she hates sleeping with him clothed. Upon hearing that, Paul makes a deal to remove only his shirt but not his shorts. Sensing that their conversation will lead to their lack of intimacy, Paul assures Marie that it is not her fault but his. He reasons that he thought she had other things to do than see him at night. Moreover, they'll be apart in the coming weeks due to his job. Then, he tells her that he thinks she'll let him go because of that. With his words, Marie firmly dismisses this idea, but only if they don't communicate. Then, she adds that she will accompany him, but she'll disappear if he doesn't want her anymore. When Paul hears this, he emphasizes they don't become intimate since they can't communicate. Marie doesn't want to prolong their conversation anymore, so she urges him to remove his shirt. Once again, Paul refuses, telling her he's used to sleeping with a shirt on. In a gloomy tone, Marie pities herself and tells him he acts that way because he's disgusted by her. This time, Paul surrenders to her wishes and immediately removes his shirt. Marie lays her face on his body and slowly snakes her hand to his crotch. But before she can entice him into making love, Paul quickly grabs her hand and stops her. Still, Marie remains persistent and tries to give him a head. Again, Paul rejects her, halting her plan. Insulted, Marie confronts Paul and whines about her needs. When Paul's answer doesn't suffice, she wallows in despair and voices out that he might be disgusted with her. In the middle of the night, Paul is sound asleep, while Marie still resents their lack of intimacy. Due to that, she quickly dresses up and drives to the bar. Once inside the establishment, one of the patrons, Paolo, takes an immediate interest in her. Paolo approaches her and makes his intention known, making Marie like the attention. During their conversation, Marie lies that she is married to alert him that if he pursues her, he is committing adultery. Paolo becomes silent, making Marie chuckle, so she reveals that her husband is asleep since he will be away tomorrow for a business appointment. Afterward, she shifts the question to Paolo, asking him if he has a girlfriend. Paolo gives her a sad smile and reveals that his girlfriend has died in a car crash, making him miss intimacy. When she hears this, Marie opines that maybe all men are into making love, but only her husband isn't. With her words, Paolo makes the first move of kissing her, and Marie reciprocates. The two feel the tension building up, so they continue their moment in Marie's car. With every kiss Paolo gives, Marie can't help but savor the moment despite the danger of their affair. After kissing, Paolo hastily urges Marie to go further, but she declines. Instead, she asks for his number so they can meet the next day for a better experience. Once their proposition is done, Marie heads to her work. Marie arrives late to her class because of her previous activity, but the school's principal, Robert, calmly lets her take over the class. After Robert leaves, Marie immediately instructs the students to take out their books to start their lecture. Back in the couple's apartment, Marie is frustrated due to Paul's comment that he wishes she was pregnant. She finds it ridiculous for him to wish that, especially since he's been uninterested in being intimate with her lately. Moreover, Marie is taking contraceptives. Upon hearing this, Paul approaches her and assures her that if she wishes to have a child, he will gladly comply. This makes Marie hope their bond will strengthen once they have a child. With her thoughts, Paul tells her that she thinks this way because she feels unconfident, so he assures her that she will regain her confidence. Emotional, Marie leads Paul to the bed, and he encourages her to be independent, especially since he has work to attend to. This causes Marie to be more emotional, and she reminds him of the loneliness she feels whenever he fails to contact her while he hops around every bar. Though guilty, Paul justifies that he has to keep up with his friends to remain sane. He adds that despite his bar hopping, he never thought of having an affair with other women. When Marie hears this, she angrily voices out that it's better he deceived her but also made love with her. Then, she tells him she can be unfaithful but denies that she's committed it when Paul confronts her. Paul ends their heavy conversation by inviting her to have dinner with his friend Ashley tomorrow evening. The next evening, the trio finishes dinner and heads to a club to spend the night. Marie harbors a sad feeling while observing Paul having a great time dancing with different women. Tired of it, Marie heads to the counter to retrieve her belongings and storms out of the club. Once outside, Marie can't keep her tears from flowing when Paul suddenly grabs her. He confronts her for being unreasonable just because he's dancing with another girl. In her defense, Marie thinks the girl is a promiscuous one, sparking her jealousy. However, Paul insists that he doesn't care about the girl, so she should too. Still, Marie lets herself be emotional. The following night, Marie meets up with Paolo, and they spend the whole night making love and learning about each other. Marie ensures Paolo wears protection as she only wants to bear Paul's child. After making love, she reveals that she doesn't want to kiss a man she doesn't love since it is too intimate. As long as her appetite is fulfilled, that's all that matters for her. However, when Paolo walks her outside, she allows him to kiss her as she simply feels like it. While in the act, she suddenly forgets about Paul, which is a little dangerous for their relationship. Therefore, Marie decides never to see Paolo again. The next day, Marie is teaching her class when Robert suddenly visits. He observes her performance and notices she has committed spelling mistakes, so he summons her to his office. Inside the office, Marie admits to her error and thinks that she might have dyslexia. It turns out their meeting is a ruse for them to execute their secret rendezvous. Robert takes Marie to his pleasure room, wherein the young woman admires its entirety. Once Marie makes herself comfortable, Robert claims that despite his looks, he's been with over 10,000 women. He reveals to her his experiences and takes pride in his dominance in making love. A few moments later, Robert grabs a book from his shelf and orders Marie to read an excerpt for him. Marie approaches him and looks at the page, but she stalls for a bit, then tells him she hates reading out. Despite this, Robert still urges her to read the excerpt, but he does the honor when Marie refuses. After reading, Marie's proximity to Robert causes him to feel embarrassed. He voices out that Marie seems to feel the same way, but she rejects the idea. While at it, Marie uses the opportunity to seduce Robert, and the man can't resist her. Afterward, he takes her to a private room where he asks for her consent to perform restraining acts on her. Once Marie consents, Robert starts restraining her, and she solemnly complies. After some time, the restraints are taking a toll on Marie, so she requests Robert to remove them from her body. Obviously traumatized, Marie doesn't hide her shaking, and she begins to cry. This concerns Robert, so he quickly carries her to the bed and comforts her. He profusely apologizes to her, especially for not knowing she's not into that kind of act. When she slightly calms down, Marie assures the regretful Robert she's okay, and everything is her own fault. After Marie's session with Robert, she returns home only to find the house empty. This makes her feel even more empty, so she heads to the bed and pleasures herself. While doing so, Marie admits to herself that she feels like her body isn't hers but merely an anonymous appendage. But for her, Paul is the only person inside her mind and someone who can connect her with her body. However, after the haze of pleasure, Marie feels unbearably lost, so she decides to leave the apartment in hopes of finding Paul. When she's outside, she immediately heads to their usual Japanese restaurant and sees Paul enjoying his time alone with a book. Due to that, she feels disappointed, and she immediately returns home. On her way, she meets a stranger who offers to pay her money in exchange for pleasure. After he's done with her, he immediately leaves and bumps into Paul on his way out. Meanwhile, Marie is left alone on the stairs, still shaking from the incident a while ago. To keep herself occupied, she lights a cigarette and contemplates her situation. After staying for an hour, Marie goes home and finds Paul shirtless on their bed, watching television. Paul tells her he just got home, and Marie lies that she is too. Then, she proceeds to disrobe herself, and once bare, she lays down on their bed. Because of this, Paul shuts down the television and immediately goes to sleep, not sparing Marie any attention. The following day, Marie visits Robert to continue another session. Before they start, Robert inquires about Marie's boundaries, and he respects her choices. After that, Robert leads her to the pleasure room and proceeds to grab his equipment. On the other hand, Marie patiently waits for him, but she can't hide the nerves she's feeling. Once Robert obtains all the needed equipment, he proceeds to restrain Marie while telling her stories of his escapades. Though uncomfortable, Marie listens to him and smiles when Robert tells a funny scene from his experience. Throughout their session, Robert remains respectful to Marie and always asks for her consent whenever he wants to try something with her. Admittedly, Marie enjoys her time with Robert and starts growing fond of him. After their session, the two go out for dinner, and Marie reveals that she feels light, especially since Robert makes her laugh. Once their dinner is finished, Marie goes home chipper than usual. This doesn't escape Paul's attention, so he raises this to Marie. Marie lies about going out with her friends, and Paul believes her. In a cheerful mood, she sits on their bed and asks Paul's help in disrobing her. For the first time, Paul asks Marie if she can pleasure him, and Marie agrees with one condition. She asks him to remove his underwear since she wants him bare. Immediately, Paul complies, and this delights Marie. She thinks that her cheating behind Paul's back urges him to be intimate with her at last. Not because he senses she has an affair, but because he's starting to realize that Marie is not clinging to him anymore. Unbeknownst to him, he accidentally inseminates Marie despite not reaching the peak. After a few weeks, Marie goes to a hospital, and a group of intern medicine students perform a gynecological examination on her. Though the act makes her feel shameless, she admits she has grown to like it. When Marie's pregnancy becomes noticeable, Paul accompanies her for a checkup. During the ultrasound, the doctor reveals they will have a baby boy, which makes the couple extremely happy. Back at home, Paul can't contain his happiness while he looks at the ultrasound photo of their child. Therefore, he proposes to Marie, and she ecstatically accepts. With that, Paul initiates making love with Marie, something he hasn't done for a while. However, this is also the last time they will ever be intimate. One night, Paul brings Marie with his relatives to a club downtown. But instead of having fun with Marie, he leaves her alone and dances with another girl. Marie notices him, and she can't help but make a face. Upon seeing it, Paul's mood turns sour, so he abruptly leaves his dance partner and approaches Marie. He confronts her about her actions and tells her not to cause a scene. Visibly tired of the same scenario, Marie simply tells him he doesn't have to worry about it. Still, Paul justifies his actions and even recounts his moment with the other girl on the dance floor, an indirect warning for Marie. Then, he stares her down, making her uncomfortable. Afterward, he orders whiskey and leaves her alone, standing uncomfortably in the bar. Paul's brother-in-law notices this, so he stacks some chairs for her and assists her in sitting. Throughout the night, Paul wastes himself instead of conversing with his partner. On the other hand, Marie endures the sadness she's feeling from his neglect. After their night out, Paul and Marie, alongside Ashley, ride their car home. During the ride, Paul keeps on yapping about the advice he shared with her sister regarding how she should treat a man. He asks Marie if she agrees with his opinion, but Marie doesn't. The next day, Marie packs up her belongings as she thinks she's nearing her due. She tries to wake up Paul to accompany her, but he's too wasted. Fed up, Marie leaves their gas open and contacts Robert to take her to the hospital. Inside the hospital room, Marie endures the pain of giving birth while Robert is with her, providing her support. The following day, Marie prepares a burial for Paul after he passes away from the gas explosion. As the men lower Paul's casket, Marie, while carrying her son, watches them with a smile on her face.